Hi folks, hi. Welcome to my channel. Um, the purple view. Why purple? Purple is associated with imagination. It's associated with inspiration. I think it also divulges. It helps us. It inspires us actually to divulge what's in us. Our innermost thoughts. It also connotes luxury and good taste, and quite frankly, it's a distinctive color. So, the purple view. Now, this maiden channel, it's basically going to talk about anything building. It's engineered towards giving information or education, if you like, to lay people who don't know anything about construction. The idea is to give information out there on the general landscape of architecture in Ghana. Reasons why you should choose a building professional, an architect, or an interior designer. We'll talk about the differences between a technician and an architect, the advantages, of selecting an architect. We'll also talk about the process for building registration, in Ghana. Psychology of architecture, the architecture and the built environment, the architect and the charges, the myth about our charges. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be interested in that, the charges. But this channel seeks to, bring out lots of debate as far as this world of building and architecture is concerned. The effect of landscaping in interiors, anything building. We're gonna, upload videos on that. But that brings us to today's video. It's a short one, and my concentration today is going to be on the differences between an interior designer and an interior decorator. Now, people think that they're one and the same. They mean the same thing, but I'm sorry, you couldn't be more wrong. They're as different as night and day. They're two different things. Now, we're talking interior decorating. What's interior decorating? Interior decorating is basically the superficial bit, to complement, a space. We're talking about selection of fabrics. We're talking about embroidery, furniture placement, sprucing it up with paint, having a color theme, having little objects placed in certain parts of the room, maybe a figurine or flower vase, shelving, like that, that displays your books and maybe some other things. In my case, you can see a model, display things like that. See the wall cladding. All these are examples of what a decorator does. They even do lighting, to add that visual aesthetic to the space. So, in a nutshell, it's a summary of what an interior decorator does. Now, what does an interior designer do? Now, folks, that is a different kettle of fish. Now, in other parts of the world, Europe and the Americas and all that, before you become an interior designer, you go through you go to school to study to become an interior designer. I mean, it involves a whole lot. You need to have a working knowledge on the structural integrity of the building that you're designing. You know, more specifically the space. You know, most of the time, your interior design involves maybe making the space smaller, or even probably enlarging the space. You're knocking down a few walls. So if you don't know, if you have no working knowledge on the structural integrity of the space that you're designing for, you're going to be in trouble. And it's not just about the space that you're designing. It's a coordination of the other spaces. In spite of the fact that you're designing a space, the interrelationship between the other space that you're not designing and the space that you're designing is quite key. So the functionality of the space is imperative. You need to have working knowledge on how functional that space is. You don't want to go put the space that you're designing in an activity zone that would require people to go through that space. Especially if you should be able to, within the context of what you're designing. There are various kinds of interiors. We have residential interior, we have commercial interiors, we have exhibitionist interiors, and all these spaces have different codes or requirements that aid or guide the design process. Okay. Now, for instance, if you're designing for middle-aged people, old people, you don't want to have a space that is multi-layered, or it's not on the same level, in different levels. Obviously, it's going to affect the 60-olds. You want to have a level ground to aid the movement. There's some psychology as far as design of interiors are concerned. Maybe you want to bring the outside in, or in some instances you want to bring the inside out. For instance, if by creating larger glazing, you bring the visual of the outside in, it gives you a psychological feeling of being outside, even though you're inside. Okay. So, in other words, also, if you can bring the indoors out, you can have a dining area in the garden. So instead of having a regular dining case indoors, you can put it outside. So that's bringing the outside in, and these are the psychological complexities of the design of interiors. And having said all of that, you need to be in sync. You have to have a working knowledge of how your occupants are living, the tastes, the likes, the dislikes. That informs you to come out with a functional interior for the occupants that you're designing for. If the people are more outgoing, they entertain a lot, you want to have a design that is more open. Of course, the typical Ghanaian, they want to have everything that they own in the living space. And more often than not, you have all the electrical gadgets that they ever own, being displayed in the lounge, and that's typical for your average African. But that's not the only reason why you want to have an open plan system. I mean, I just explained that for people who enjoy a lot of entertainment and have people coming in all the time, they like to have open plan. In the open plan system also gives the illusion of space. So instead of segregating the different places with walls, the open plan system is just segregated by virtue of how the furniture is arranged. And maybe how the spaces are even, where the spaces are even located. So this gives the illusion of space. And of course, we talk about another same topic of psychology. If you're designing, for instance, maybe a ward. The ward is a place where patients are trying to recover from an illness, and things like seeing the sky, water bodies, all impacts on the mind, and it creates a sort of a psychological feeling of relief when you see water bodies, sky, flowers, and things like that. So these are also some of the psychologies that go with interior design. And like I said, the interior design, is a lot more complex. Even lighting, as far as interior design is concerned, whereas the interior decorator uses lighting merely for effect or the visual aesthetic, the interior designer goes beyond that. Lighting, depending on the illumination levels, creates certain moods. It will, by virtue of the illumination level, you can create a mood in a lounge. Obviously the illumination levels in a kitchen or a conference room will be different from a lounge or a bedroom. And these things, people don't know, create or dictates the kind of mood that you want to create, besides the visual aesthetic that visual illumination connotes. So interior design is really a very involving process. So you're dealing with the psychology of what you want to create. You're dealing with the psychology of the occupants, the cultural flow, the kind of personalities they are. With decorating, all you're interested in is adorning the space, and without necessarily impacting on the design itself. So the space remains added as it is, as far as the space is concerned. You don't touch the space, or you just touch the elements in the space. But with interior design, it's beyond that. You can go beyond just the elements in the space to the actual space. Moving walls, changing floors, lights, all in consultation with the users of the space. So there's a coordination between the workforce and the user clients. So these are, in broad strokes, the differences between the two. Yeah, so like I was saying, it's imperative that the interior designer has working knowledge of all that. In our subsequent videos, we're going to talk about the difference between an architect and a technician, and I hope to be seeing you soon. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, you can write them below, and we'll urge you to subscribe to this channel to listen to anything building. And thank you so much for watching. We'll be seeing you soon.